The second question I've been asked to address is how, if at all, does the incident in Ferguson reflect my own past personal experiences in dealing with law enforcement? Let me begin by saying that I love the police. More specifically, I love my father, retired Lieutenant Harry Bernard Hall Sr. He doesn't like when I call him Senior, of the Michigan State Police. A policeman is the reason why my teeth are straight. A policeman is the reason why I had access to good public schools that allowed me to be in the position of privilege that I'm enjoying at this very moment. That policeman afforded me opportunities to take summer vacations and explore corners of this country that a kid from the other side of 8 Mile Road near Detroit, Michigan, didn't know existed. More than anything, I owe him for providing a template of what it meant to be a husband and father, right? A template and model of what it means to put the interests of your family above your own. And going one step further, I saw him do this as a profession as well, right? Doing a thankless job for little pay, but for larger, more important reasons. And I thank him and I respect him dearly. That being said, I hate the police. I hate the police. When I was 17 years old, I found myself at a teen nightclub. Stop giggling, please. Right? And I was there with a childhood friend of mine, right, in the suburbs of Detroit. Right? No alcohol involved, but the club had got out, and people were in the parking lot socializing afterwards. Right? At a point in time where the police, a couple of police cars, entered the parking lot, and people began to scatter. My friend and I at the time were talking to two females of similar age that happened to be white. The police car stops in front of us, and we scatter, to which they said to stop running very quickly, to which we complied. From there, he then told the young ladies to get on out of here and pulled us to the front of the police car. And now I'm 34 years of age, and I can now admit that back then, when I was 17 years old, I was committing two crimes at that moment. One being underage smoking, and two being loitering in a parking lot. I can admit that. Yet when that police officer got out of that car and threw me and my friends over the hood of it, right, we did not receive any tickets. We were not arrested, right? In that moment, the crime we committed was flirting with white women. And the punishment that was served was a stiff knee to the groin and a reminder to take our black asses back across 8 Mile. Again, I respect policemen and their job to make sure that people abide by the law. But in that moment, again, I was guilty. Some crime, I was in that moment, excuse me, the crime I was guilty of was flirting with white women. And in that moment, that cop believed his job was to preserve the interests of white supremacy. I remember going home that night and calling my father in tears and asking him the questions that I fear my own sons will ask me. Daddy, I wasn't doing anything that wrong. Daddy, you know I'm a good kid. Why would he talk to me like that? How can he get away with that? And to my father's own admission, much later, it was difficult for him to acknowledge that he couldn't do anything about it. And in that moment, I felt what many black men feel when it comes to their dealing with law enforcement. I felt emasculated. And I hate that language of identity attached to manhood. So let's use a different, instead of emasculated, I felt dehumanized in that moment. And it is something that I will never forget. It is something that stays with me to this day. Again, 17 years later, and explains the reason why every time I see a police car in my rearview mirror, knowing that I'm not committing any crimes, that I get nervous like I got a kilo of coke in the trunk, and I got 2 baby seats in the back. I have experiences on college where I would be throwing a house party, 20, 30 people, doing what college people do, dancing, right? Across the street from a fraternity house. And at the University of Michigan, where I attended, these were huge houses that everybody knew were drug and alcohol factories. But because they had Greek letters on top of them, they had a license to kill. Meanwhile, every 40 minutes, right, the police knock on the door telling us to stop disturbing the peace. Again, these are just a couple incidents in my 34 years, right, that have led me to have zero trust in the people who are paid to protect and serve us. And it cracks me up when it takes a Michael Brown being shot dead in the street for people to believe us when we say that police brutality is as real as the oxygen that we breathe. It cracks me up and makes me vomit in my mouth at the same time.